Our meeting is now open for sharing testimonies of healing through Christian Science. Nathan from California, go ahead.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to give my testimony. I've written it down, so I will just do my best to read it and ad-lib a little bit. So what I wrote is, Mary Baker Eddy in Science and Health has revolutionized my life. It brought me out of a dark place of suicide and despair to a place of peace, hope, contentment, and joy. And thank you, Plainfield, for opening your heart and your hand to me during my time of need. It provided me with a cool drink of water and safety, and showed me this glorious path of Miss Eddy's steps to our loving Father, Mother, God. Over the years, I've studied daily science and health. And this testimony is one of my latest demonstrations, and I've had many, many. So this is just one, a small one, but I wanted to talk about it. Aligned with the reading tonight, that the Father knoweth our needs, and if we put God first, He will meet them. And this is why I wanted to talk about it, because it was instantaneously met. So last week, it was about my water in my house. It had stopped working, and it's a brand new home, and we couldn't figure out why we had no water. It's a condominium, so everyone else around us had water. The building had water, but ours did not. So that night, I called a contractor, and I couldn't get anyone to the next day. So we couldn't flush the toilet, anything like that. No water whatsoever in our home. And then I called the city the next morning, and they sent someone out, and the city still couldn't figure it out. I had to run an errand while the city worker was at our house. Sorry, someone's trying to call. While the city worker was at our house, and I remembered something I had been studying that morning, and it was the 4 rivers of Eden: Pison, Gihon, Hiddekel, and Euphrates. And these are discussed in Science and Health on page 585 through 593. And so when I was reading about those 4 rivers, this is how I categorized it in my head so I can think about it. Pison, love and beauty and harmony; Gihon, womanhood; Hiddekel, divine science; Euphrates, innocence, human beliefs before accepted sin. So while I was on my drive, because I've been focused on matter, material, trying to fix this problem in our house, I thought, why am I thinking about matter to fix this problem? I began to think about the rivers, and I just thought about the channel of God consciousness, the channel of love, beauty, harmony, and goodness. And the minute I changed my thought, and I thought about that, within 10 seconds, I got a call, and they found the problem with the water, and the water was instantly back on. I found this to be an instantaneous manifestation of God's good. I was focused on matter to fix the problem, which was incorrect thinking. The second I corrected my thought, within 10 seconds, the objective so-called problem was fixed. Also, it was free to me with no charge. I didn't have to pay, nothing. It was taken care of. And the gentleman that found it, it didn't have anything to do with the city. This taught me to continue to practice what I studied. Although I had studied that morning, it wasn't until hours later that I actually thought of those rivers and meditated on those rivers that Miss Eddy talked about. This is what I have been looking for all of my life: Christian Science, discovered by Mary Baker Eddy, who has shown me a clear way to live. I am ever so grateful. I'm so thankful. And I will continue not only to work, watch, and pray for my life, but as Miss Eddy did, I read in her autobiography that she worked for the world and mankind. And I will continue to watch and pray for our brothers and sisters out there. I will follow our leaders' direction and will continue on working for mankind. Thank you.
Thank you. Mara from Mississippi, go ahead.
Happy to be a part of this meeting tonight. I'm so grateful that I found the Plainfield Christian Science Church. I'm very thankful for all that I'm learning from everyone here, especially my practitioner. Christian Science is such a comforting, happy, fearless way of life. The members of Plainfield are such great role models of Christian Science. I love how we are taught at Plainfield to pray and watch for our world. We're taught to pray everywhere we go and pray for everyone we see around us, and also to love everyone. We learn how God is love all around us and always there for us. One of the things that I'm learning is that Christian Science takes a lot of discipline. It's really something you have to work at. To constantly be aware of the negative thoughts and stop thinking them because they are not from God, and pray without ceasing. This is a challenge, but something I'm working on. One night this week, after I let my puppy back inside after a walk, he started yelping very loudly and frantically. He ran inside the bedroom and tried to squeeze under the bed. We calmed him down, but still weren't sure what had happened and how he got so hurt and scared. Although he calmed down, he still seemed injured because every time he would move, he would whimper and cry. My husband and I stayed up throughout the night comforting him, and I prayed knowing who he really is, which is a spiritual idea of God. I still felt concerned and upset over him, and he seemed scared and uncomfortable. He was not acting his normal puppy self in the morning either. He was limping and almost unable to walk. I called my practitioner that morning. At first, we discussed how I was feeling easily distracted by everyday human incidences, both good and bad, causing me not to study Christian Science like I should, and not to call her regularly or give testimonies. We talked about how this was animal magnetism, and I was allowing it to affect me. I also talked to her about the incident with my puppy. As we were talking, my puppy was outside in the yard and unable to walk up the steps to come inside. She reminded me of an article, The Word Made Flesh by Martha Wilcox. She told me to study it. And before we got off the phone, she said something like, "Now get more focused so you can heal." I felt better as soon as we hung up, and Zeus walked up the stairs, came inside the house, and already seemed to be more comfortable and walking better. In the article, The Word Made Flesh, Mary Baker Eddy's horse was not feeling right. And when I studied the article, I replaced the word horse with the word dog. For example, the only dog there is already perfect. And the divine mind is all there is to what the human mind calls dog. As the day progressed and I continued to pray, my puppy started limping less, and by the next morning was back to his happy puppy self. I'm so grateful to the people at the Plainfield Church that worked so hard to make all these meetings possible. And thank you to Ms. Sheila for the readings tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeremy.
I am very grateful for Christian Science, to be a member of this church, and to have regular practitioner support. This past spring, I had brought my truck in for an oil change, and I asked them to check out the tires and everything else just to make sure the truck was tip-top, because I frequently transport church members around. When I picked the truck up, they told me all was well. Recently, however, I parked at church and I left my wheels turned enough that when I got out I could see how, despite the outer part of the treads looking fine, the inner 4 inches of the tires were completely bald. Feels to me that there's no way that this could have happened just in 3 months. So I thank God for his protection and made an appointment at another shop, which is just down the street from my house. These new people were very thorough and willing to give me a complete report on the truck, and they also were able to bring me home and pick me back up when the work was done. I'm so grateful for God's constant protection and for the fact that this error was revealed to me so I could take action on it. And it didn't take more than a half hour total away from my day. It's such a constant blessing to be here learning this science and for how practical Christian Science is in our daily lives. Thank you. And now we have a testimony from Imogen in Australia.
Good evening. I was thinking today of a beautiful comment made by Benjamin about science and health. He said that no human could ever have written that textbook. Well, I have found this to be absolutely the truth. I took a challenge a few weeks ago to make a new habit of reading 5 pages of the Bible and 5 pages of science and health each day. I understood that it may take me some time to gain the discipline to be able to do this every single day. Now, I've had some good success with it for a week, and then I fell off the wagon for a couple of days, and then I've come back to it. I will get there, but there's a couple of things that are occurring to me. Firstly, how remarkably well Mary Baker Eddy knew the scriptures. Before computers, before auto lookup, just with a hard copy Bible, candlelight at night time. What a phenomenal Bible scholar. And the second thing that has occurred to me is her extraordinary command of language, to be able to express spirit with human language in such a profound way, without online thesaurus and all the study tools that we have at hand today. So this has really reminded me of the joyous truth that science and health was indeed given directly through divine revelation to Mary Baker Eddy, and that she worked as, quote, a scribe under orders, as she herself expressed it. So thank you so much to our holy practitioners for recommending this habit of reading in this way each day. I also wanted to thank tonight the lesson writer for this week's lesson. I never noticed before in 1 Samuel, quote, and the Lord said unto Samuel, how long wilt thou mourn for Saul, seeing I have rejected him from reigning over Israel? Fill thine horn with oil, and go. I will send thee to Jesse the Bethlehemite, for I have provided me a king among his sons. End quote. This was just the perfect lesson for me this week, that God has already provided everything we need, and we must deeply and sincerely strive to hear what it is that he is saying. Mary Baker Eddy writes in Science and Health, quote, before human knowledge dipped to its depths into a false sense of things, into belief in material origins, which discard the one mind and true source of being, it is possible that the impressions from truth were as distinct as sound, and that they came as sound to the primitive prophets. End quote. I'm extremely grateful to our holy practitioners here at Plainfield Independent. It is a beautiful place to study and learn and grow. I'm very blessed to be a member here, learning more about God every single day, that God really has provided all with all, and we need only to listen to him. I am eternally grateful to be continuing to learn the true Christian science that Mary Baker Eddy discovered. My forever thanks to our Lord God Almighty, to Christ Jesus and Mary Baker Eddy, our Plainfield practitioners and teachers, our members, singers and musicians. So much love to you all, and thank you all so much.
And now we have a testimony from Izzy in England.
Good evening. I wanted to share my gratitude for a lovely healing that I experienced last week. In our little Sunday evening watch group, we had been discussing the knowledge or realization received through the teachings of Plainfield that anything pertaining to the error is only ever an attempt by error and is never person, place or thing. We agreed in our little discussion that this has been very helpful in learning how to handle error. It seems quite obvious really, but sometimes these things take time to just settle in and really make sense. And I've personally found the teachings at the round table so very helpful, and the regular instructions of how to handle claims of imperfection by simply not backing down, not accepting them, not taking them on board, or letting anything become personal. And all this has really helped me. So huge thanks for everybody involved in the round tables. Once I realised and accepted the fact that error is not the person who is being mean to me, it's not the pain in my foot or head or wherever, I found I've really been able to fully know its nothingness and its absolute powerlessness over me. And of course, to recognise that God is the only power. There just is nothing else. So the other morning I got out of bed, and as I walked across my bedroom, I realised I was totally veering straight off to the right. And I pretty much crashed against the wall. I walked down the hallway to the bathroom, and I did the exact same again. It would have been a little alarming if I hadn't immediately been able to recognise it as an attempt by error to, well, either spoil my day, spoil me doing my work, make me feel weak, whatever. So I immediately just almost laughed at it. If I didn't have Christian Science, I'm pretty sure I would have gone back to bed and maybe sent a text saying that I wasn't feeling great and I would maybe have to stay at home that day. But because I had Christian Science, and especially this incredible learning that I have gained, I saw it for what it was, a complete non-event that had no power and no place. And then I think I just forgot about it. I probably got distracted or something. It was only later that I realised that this weird feeling had completely gone almost immediately, and I had had a very normal morning and day. So I'm incredibly grateful for everything that I've learned at Plainfield, but especially for this teaching. And my ongoing challenge now is to learn to have the same reaction, whatever claim I see error present. I'm very grateful to and for Christian Science, to and for Mrs. Eddy, and to and for the Plainfield Church Independent. What an absolute relief, treasure, and privilege to be able to live safe and secure in this wonderful knowledge.
Thank you.
Nancy, New Jersey.
Nancy from New Jersey, go ahead.
Good evening, and thank you for the service tonight. I wanted to express my gratitude for the beautiful and the very inspiring readings tonight on the undivided garment of Christ. As I was going over the readings for tonight, they really inspired me to think more deeply on this topic of the undivided garment of Christ. It made me think about what was I seeking to clothe myself in, the things of material sense, matter, or spiritual things, the things of God. And it was read tonight from Science and Health on page 142, quote, "We must seek the undivided garment, the whole Christ, as our first proof of Christianity. For Christ, truth alone, can furnish us with absolute evidence." As I thought about that and studied further, I came across an article on our website called "The Springtide of Soul" by Albert F. Engel. It was a very helpful article to me in understanding how to seek the whole garment of Christ. I would like to share just a short paragraph with you. It says, quote, "Christianity is the healing power of divine love, which exchanges the soiled, outgrown garments of selfishness, small-mindedness, criticism, and hate for the glistening robes of benevolence, bigness of heart, conciliation, and love. The law of spirit taught by Jesus destroys the false beliefs of worn-out creeds, dogma, and ritualism, and replaces them with spiritual understanding, Christ-likeness, and wisdom." End quote. I am beyond grateful to this church for all that it freely provides to us to aid in our spiritual growth and to gain a deeper understanding of Christian Science. And I'm so grateful to our lesson writers who every week give us readings that inspire and enlighten us. I'm so grateful for our dynamic website, which always has the perfect resources to aid in our studies. I am so grateful to our loving Father, Mother, God, for Christ Jesus, our beloved leader, Mary Baker Eddy. I'm very grateful to my practitioner for her steadfast guidance and prayerful support. And I'm so grateful to be a member of this beautiful Plainfield Christian Science Church Independent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tony or Lenny?
Tony or Lenny from North Carolina, go ahead.
Michelle, those readings were beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm going to go back and read those many times over. You know, Christ, when he calls us, we're told to rise and throw off our garments. We've been in a kind of a rough situation in the neighborhood that we live. We were placed in a neighborhood where we quickly fell out of favor with one of our neighbors on one side, to the point of pretty much hate us. And the other neighbors directly on the other side were just indifferent. And kind of struggling with, why we're here. Of course, love thy neighbor, it's easy to say, but when you're faced with those kind of obstacles, it really forces you to set yourself aside and live science. And that's going above the jarring testimony of the physical senses and to see science and true love for your fellow man and understand why that is, because there's truly one mind, and that one mind knows all, loves all, and there is this perfection. And so understanding that, my peace was able to return to me, and that took me some time. But once my peace returned to me, then I think my outward appearance to them must have changed, because we've seen some improvement with the neighbors that would disdain us. The neighbors on the other side of us have completely switched now, and they care for us now. And I have another neighbor down the street that I would now say is a friend. And I attribute all of this just to the reason I was placed here was to learn how to love my neighbor, even in a very tough situation. And tonight, Lenny played a big part in all of this and her outpouring of love. Every time we see these neighbors, we just pour a blessing on them. We think of the oil of gladness, joy in the morning and the afternoon and the evening. We just, we have to, when we mentally do that, and pour it on them and help them whenever we can. Well, tonight, Lenny and I had just finished a walk, and we were on our way home. We had to make it home in time so we could have a little dinner and be ready for church. And my car wouldn't start. And I instantly called my neighbor, my friend on the street. He arrived in less than 5 minutes and was able to, he showed me this new device, actually, that you can store in your glove box, and it will start your car. It stores enough power, and you can hook it to your battery. Incredible. It's not like the old jumper cables. I was amazed by it. My car started instantly. We got home. We had a good laugh. And I was just thinking, just what you read tonight in those beautiful readings of, how God clothes even the grass. Are we not that much more special? And just to see the love being amplified back now through the neighborhood, back to all of us, it's just been quite a joy. And just thank God for this law of love that He has for all of us. And again, thank you for those readings and the testimonies and the service tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sandy, North Carolina.
Sandy from North Carolina, go ahead.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for all the testimonials tonight. I just want to express a happy testimony. It's a little bit, it's really a Christian Science testimony. I'm back in Charlotte, North Carolina, and from the time I find independence, when I was in Nebraska, I just stay with independence. I'm happy. Things happen every day, the activity. So it's a local Christian Scientist church. The first Christian Scientist church in Charlotte was built in 1905. They love me, but I've been years away. So my son is in law school, and it's been so many blessings. And he liked the Christian Scientist church. He went to the Sunday school over there. So he asked me to go, so we went. And I had the congregation. They said, Sandy, we haven't seen you in years. You look great. You happy. Where have you been? What are you doing? You look fantastic. I saw kids that used to be at the Sunday school. Now they're grown with their families. And everybody after the service, they start hugging me and they want to know, what church are you going? I said, well, it's the Christian Scientist Independent. And they have the best practitioners. And what is that? I said, you guys just need to go Independent Christian Scientist New Jersey. And you guys need to call the practitioner. Her name is Mary Beth. And I share my healing of breast cancer healing. So they hug me, surround in a circle of love. Oh, they cry. I say, this is the way that Miss Mary Beth Kennedy intended. And it'll take long because you go to the website. I told the young girls, they are Christian Scientists, they went to Principia. And they say, Sandy, it's just been hard. I said, nothing hard for the Christ. You just go and do the treatment at the website. So I know because the rule of money, if I shouldn't influence, or personal attachment. I say, Father, Mother God, you're going to have to forgive me because I'm bringing the arrow of good news to my brothers and sisters here in Charlotte. And I said, it's nothing to it. They got the testimonies on Wednesday night. They have a wonderful website. They feed the bread of life around the world. And I talk about Young and Martha Wilcox. I said they had the writing. It was such a fruitage. Then they took me to the Sunday class. Then they took me to the nursery. And I said, and it's joyful. That's why I just here because my son wanted to come. So it's a purpose. Everything is a purpose for the Christ. It's not to bless me. It's to bless the whole world. And I place Independent Christian Scientist New Jersey. This is hard work that you guys do. A lot of prayer. And now people get to bless. My healing of cancer was complete. No medication. The body, the treatment for body. As simple as that. It didn't cost me a dime. That means Maribel Kennedy said, do you want to be at the hospital or you want to be doing your lessons? I'm so grateful for the round table, for the honesty. They explain things easy. It's very easy. I say, I never understood anything over here. Now I get to understand the round table. I highly recommend it. And I said, the practitioner, but of course you have to do. You have to also help her with her effort. In Charlotte, North Carolina, these Christian scientists, they were revitalized, full of the Holy Spirit, and with hope. And it's all because Christian Scientists Independence, New Jersey, with independent thought and teaching the way that Miss Mary Baker Eddy expected us to do. Grateful for our Savior Jesus Christ, the way short, and for all the people around the world that take time to share the testimonies of healing and the goodness of God, loving all His children. And I'm just so happy tonight. Thank you for all that you guys do. What a blessing for the whole humanity. We never know how things unfold in the plan of Father, Mother God. And thank you for the beautiful hymns tonight.
Thank you. Florence from Georgia, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Michaela, for the beautiful readings. Very reassuring. Loved what you read from Miscellaneous Writing, page 241, saying that God never made you sick. There is no necessity for pain, and truth destroys the error that insists on the necessity of any man's bondage to sin and sickness. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Thank you very much, and thank you for all the testimonies so far. I have 2 testimonies to read. The first one is from Kenya, and she says, Kenya went through the emergency in the 50s when Kenyans were fighting for their independence from British colonial rule. One particular tribe led the way in this uprising. It was dangerous to travel in outlying areas. One weekend, our family of 4 took a wrong turn when visiting a place in the country, lost our way, and the car got hopelessly stuck in the mud. We were in the middle of this particular tribe's area. It was dangerous, dark, cold, and rainy. We passed our little dog around to each one of us to keep warm. We sang Christian Science hymns and prayed for protection. We knew that we were in the kingdom of heaven with God's children all around. Early the next morning, my father set out courageously on foot to find help and directions. After 1 hour, he returned with the district commissioner, carrying a large thermos flask of hot coffee, accompanied by a crowd of strong young Kenyans, who laughingly and happily pushed us out of the mud and directed us on the correct way to go. The emergency did not last very long and has since been forgotten. Britain gave independence to Kenya in 1963. I always feel at home with all, whether at school, at work, or anywhere else. All the Kenyans I know are beautiful, receptive, intelligent, and loving people. And the second one is from California. And she says, I am very grateful for this wonderful church, Plainfield Independence, and the wonderful practitioner for her dedication and selfless work. A few months ago, I was waiting on some funds from this individual who had promised me to send something for a period of time. And to my surprise, the money did not come, and here I was with so many bills to pay. I was very scared as to how I was going to pay my rent, and to make matters worse, my business just started to slow down. It was a very difficult time, but each time I spoke to the practitioner, she assured me to lean on God alone, and that my abundance was ever present and spiritual. She also sent me articles that have been very helpful. I kept praying because I knew that my Father God would not let me lack. Some days I spent lots of time thanking Him for all the healings He has done for me and remained grateful. In some hours of despair, I reached out to Him with praise. The website of the church have helped me so much. I listened so often to the roundtables that have kept me and reassured me that God was with me. Slowly, some work started to come, and the practitioner kept praying for me to gain the change of thought needed to reassure me of the love of God. My business started to pick up, and some other avenues of work are starting to open up. I am so thankful, and day by day I discover new ways of how God loves me. I am so grateful for God, for Christian Science, and the early workers from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, Plainfield Church Independent, with much love.
Thank you. Mary.
Good evening, everyone. Just read a few things tonight. The first from Illinois. Again, God has answered my prayer. Today I discovered a YouTube channel named Long Year Museum. This channel offers a massive amount of information pertaining to our leader, Mary Baker Eddy, and Christian Science. I'm very grateful that divine love does meet my every human need. And then this from Holland. I'm reading William Kilpatrick's Being is Consciousness. He writes that our work is to know God, to understand the ever-presence, so that any opposite sense cannot suggest itself as a possibility. Be allied to God. Let God have His way. All else is just animal magnetism or hypnotism, and I rejoice in His teaching. In Pennsylvania, the archive Bible studies and roundtables continue to be a treasure trove of inspiration and encouragement. Last night, I read or listened to something about silence is golden, and it was just what I needed concerning conflicts with others. There was lots more, but this was especially needed and helpful. Now, what is needed is to listen to my spiritual sense as to when and how to apply it, and perhaps not to get discouraged when I stumble. Thank you, God, and thank you, Plainfield. And then this is something that was in the Boston Herald probably many years ago. I know that we had found it, and it was also in our magazine, again, several years ago, but it's an interesting testimony from Punta Gorda, Florida. At the age of 90, a George W. Goff, who lives near here, has grown young again. Up to a year ago, Mr. Goff was blind, partially deaf, and bald, and had been so for many years. About that time, however, he suddenly recovered his eyesight and hearing, and his hair began to grow. Now Mr. Goff hears and sees as well as he ever did, and his head is covered with a growth of black hair. As his eyesight strengthened and his hair grew, a marked change occurred to Mr. Goff's physical condition, and from being a decrepit man, hardly able to walk, he became as strong and active as a youth of 20 years. The wrinkles on his skin disappeared, and he now looks fresh and youthful. The case has puzzled the physicians. They say the man is entirely rejuvenated and may live another 90 years. They assert that the old tissues have been replaced by new, and that physically Mr. Goff is not more than 20 years old. So youthful did Mr. Goff feel that last week he married a handsome young girl. To look at the couple, one would never suspect that there was any difference in their ages, although the groom is 70 years older than his bride. Anyway, Mr. Goff was born in Georgia in 1805. He fought in the Indian War under Andrew Jackson and remembers Old Hickory well. He also was in the Mexican and Civil Wars and was wounded at the Battle of Buena Vista. So that goes along. This was submitted to me from Louise in Missouri, and she said it goes along in what we learn in Science and Health. And that one woman who did not age because she was not thinking about the passing of time. So anyway, that was a wonderful example of that in the Boston Herald from years ago. This is from Massachusetts. I am so grateful to all at this Plainfield Church who are working selflessly to bring to the world such a wealth of spiritual resources. And I want to thank all of those who each week give their inspiring testimonies. They have brought out to me how important it is to bring God into the smallest minutiae of daily life. Please accept the enclosed donation with my deepest gratitude. I don't remember how I was led to this blessed church, but it was surely God guiding me. I feel I have found my spiritual home. And then lastly, from Sweden. Recently, we found much inspiration from the readings of the Healer. The good work flowing out from your church is truly amazing. It did finally rain in Scandinavia as soon as we had written to you about the problem. And we are much grateful to our church from the members in Sweden. And that had been told to our weather committee, and people were working. And so they were very grateful for the rain in Sweden. So I'll end it there, and I thank you all for the meeting tonight, those testimonies and beautiful music, hymns, and yes, those beautiful readings. Thank you so much. The undivided garment. When God heals us, when the Christ heals us, we are made whole. Just as that beautiful song our group sings, He touched me and made me whole. I'm so grateful to be here tonight, and have a good evening.
Thank you.